Africa, the gold mines shut down. Therefrom the Anunnaki to the Eden, Mesopotamia, came. Smelting and refining on earth ceased. All gold to Nibiru was lofted. Empty for evacuating ready, a fleet of celestial chariots, rockets, to earth returned.
One spaceship brought the mysterious white-haired Galzu, the great knower, with a sealed message from Anu to Enki, Enlil, and Nimma. Galzu, we'll see, will thwart the watery genocide Enlil planned for us. Enlil, the sea of Anu, examined. Unbroken, authentic it was, its encoding trustworthy. For king and council Galzu speaks. His words are my commands. So did the message of Anu state. I am Galzu, emissary plenipotentiary of king and council to Enlil, said the mysterious visitor. Galzu lied. He kept Enlil, Nimma, and Enki and their lineages on earth, despite this coming deluge. And he did it by the following. Galzu told Nimma, of the same school and age we are. This Nimma could not recall. The emissary was as young as a son, and she was his olden mother. Galzu told her she'd aged and he hadn't because she'd been so long on Earth. She and her brothers lived on Earth so long they'd die if they returned to Nibiru, where their bodies couldn't survive the whole planet's net force.
That means gravity.
Gravity. Galzu lied. The three of you on Earth will remain, only to die to Nibiru you will return. Nimma and her brothers must, he said, orbit Earth in rockets when the ice sheets sped waves over the planet. Then, when the waters calmed, to live they must return to Earth.
Enlil continued reading the order Galzu said he'd brought from King Anu. Quotes, to each of the other Anunnaki, that's those who came from Nibiru, a choice to leave or the calamity outwait must be given. The Ijiji, astronauts who Earthlings espoused, must between departure and spouses choose. No Earthling, Marduk Sarpanit included, that's his wife, to Nibiru to journey is allowed, for all who stay, and what happens see, in celestial chariots, rockets, they safety must seek. Enlil convened the Anunnaki Council on Earth, the leaders' sons and grandchildren, as well as the astronaut commanders. He decreed the Earthlings must drown in the deluge. Enki objected. A wondrous being by us is created, by us saved it must be, Enki to Enlil shouted.
Enlil roared back. To primitive workers you gave, to them knowing you endowed. The powers of the Creator of all into your hands you have taken. With fornication Adapa you conceived, understanding to his line you gave. His offspring to the heavens you have taken, our wisdom with them you shared. Every rule you have broken, decisions and commands you ignored. Because of you a civilized earthling brother Abel, a brother Cain murdered. Because of Marduk, your son, the Ijiji, like him with Earthlings intermarried.
The Earthlings, Enlil said, must drown. He demanded that Enki and all the Nibirans on Earth swear not to tell the Earthlings that a flood's coming. Enki hesitated to openly defy Enlil, after all he was the commander, but Enki refused to swear. He and Marduk stomped out of the council. Commander Enlil brought the council back to order after Enki stomped out. Astronauts with wives descended from Adapa and children, he said, must move to the peaks above the waves. Enlil says that he, Enki, and Nimma, their sons, daughters, and descendants would just orbit the Earth during this flood. Marduk must shelter on Mars base. Nanar can go to the moon where he's got a retreat. And when the waters recede, the leaders and their kin could return to Earth. That's what Enlil said. Well, Enki and Nimma buried their records and computer programs deep in the Iraqi soil. They made genetic banks to save Earth's creatures from the flood. In other words, this is they didn't get all the elephants and tigers and giraffes all on a boat. They made genetic banks, male and female essences and life eggs they collected. Of each kind, 2 by 2, they collected for safekeeping while in Earth circuit to be taken. Thereafter, the living kinds to recombine. The day of the deluge, they waited.
Enki dreamed while Galzu spoke.
He dreamed that Galzu was speaking to him in the dream.
Right. Enki woke and pondered his dream. He stepped out of bed and kicked an actual physical tablet that now appeared next to his bed. The tablet showed... Hold on.
The tablet showed how to build a submersible craft in which Ziusutra and his followers could ride out the deluge. Enki searched his home and grounds for Galzu, but he couldn't find him.
None except Enki in the dream had seen Galzu. Sitchin termed the appearance of the tablet a physical object after Enki's dream encounter with Galzu, a representative of a higher power. He called it a Twilight Zone miracle. That night, to the reed hut where Ziusudra was sleeping, Enki stealthily went. The oath not breaking, the Lord Enki, not to Ziusudra, but to the hut's wall, the computer bank, spoke from behind the reed wall. This is a very famous scene in the Bible. I'll have to get the text and sometime quote that to you. But this is a very famous scene in the Bible.
What does the Bible say?
I'd have to get it. We'll do that after the break. When Ziusudra, by the words awakened to him, Enki said, "Reed Hut, a calamitous storm will sweep. The destruction of mankind it will be. This is the decision of the assembly by Enlil convened. Abandon thy house, Ziusudra, and build a boat, its design and measurements on a tablet. A boat guide, Ninigao, to you will come. To a safe haven, the boat guide will navigate you. By you shall the seed of civilized man survive. Not to you, Ziusudra, have I spoken, but to the reed wall did I speak."
Well, Enki prepared. Before the wave hit, he sent Ninigao, that's his son, with boxes to Ziusudra. The boxes held the DNA, the sperm, the ova, the life essence and life eggs of living creatures from the wrath of Enlil to be hidden, to life resurrected if earth be willing, is what Enki said about all these genetic starts. Ningishita prepared too. That's Enki's son with Erishka gal. He inscribed ancient wisdom on 2 great pillars and hid sacred objects and scrolls inside them. And this is all 13,000 years ago. So just before the flood, not only were all the genetic starts put in a diorite chamber by Enki and Nimma, but Ningishita took all the wisdom and he hid them too. Scrolls. In the White Land, that's Antarctica, at the Earth's bottom, off its foundation, the Antarctic ice sheet slipped. By Nibiru's net force, it was pulled into the South Sea. A tidal wave arose, northward spreading. The tidal wave, several hundred meters high, moved northward from Antarctica at 500 kilometers per hour, like a giant circle around the world. It destroyed all lands lower than 2,000 meters above sea level. The boat of Ziusutra, the tidal wave from its moorings lifted. Though completely submerged, not a drop of water into it did enter. For 40 days, waves and storms swept the earth, drowning everything on the planet, except those on mountaintops and those in Ziusutra's boat.
So we're going to take a short break. But after our break, we will read the actual words of Enki as Zechariah Sitchin's translated in the Lost Book of Enki. We'll be back in a few minutes. Aloha, we're back. That was Giant Little Gods, an instrumental by You Are a Hologram. So we printed off one excerpt from the Bible, which we're going to read a little bit of that, because we want you to understand that this translation by Zechariah Sitchin was Sumerian, and Sumerian is thousands of years older than the Bible. What, 3,000 years older? Much more
More
ancient.
than that, way more than that, Jenna.
And so this was the precursor to the information that ended up in our Bibles. And the Bible was, of course, brought together by Constantine at the Fifth Ecumenical Council in Constantinople. Do you know approximately what year that was? No.
I think it was A25 BC or so, or AD or so. Yeah.
A25 AD, not BC.
Yeah.
All right, so this is from, everybody get your Bibles out. Genesis 6, colon 5, dash 10, colon 32. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. The Lord was sorry